Hello everyone, welcome to Uwu Revieuwu. My name is Jess and I'm coming at you today makeupless, having nothing in my hair and sitting here in my pajamas because we're keeping it super cash today. It's okay baby, go put on your slippers because we're getting real cozy. For those of you who don't follow me on Instagram at Uwu_Revieuwu, I have moved into a new place with more room to do stuff and it's bigger and I can have a space dedicated to my manga now. So that's what I'm doing and that's what you see the sort of scaffolding of here behind me. The room we are in right now is going to be my reading nook slash manga library, and it's also going to be my office space, which is going to be super awesome for things like filming, doing more cash talks and things like that. And I think this new bookshelf setup is going to be a really good space once I get it set up, which is why we're here today. To make up for my lack of activity, both here and on Instagram, being that we're moving and everything, and that's kind of taken over my life for the past little bit, I want to do a brief tour of my manga collection at present with many, many micro reviews as we go through the collection. But before we do that, I first have to set up the manga on the shelves, and I thought I would take you guys with me for that process as well. So let's get to it, shall we? The goal for today is to get all of this over here in a relatively neat and tidy fashion. You can see I have a couple of figures and things like that set up and kind of where I want them, so we're going to be working around those, and otherwise I'm just going to start right here and stack up my manga alphabetically, and hopefully it all fits. Hi, Bob Ross. Alright, so it is in fact many days later, but I'm finally able to do a tour of my collection as promised with many, many micro reviews. I'm going to try to keep them to like a sentence or two at most, while also very briefly explaining the plot of the manga in my collection. And yeah, we're going to go from there. So let's get started. So my collection is done in alphabetical order. There's no real fancy organization system about it. I know a lot of people like to do like alphabetical by author within each publisher, but I'm just not about that. So it's alphabetical order A to Z, starting of course with a Jin over here behind Chocola. A Jin is essentially a boy dies and comes back as a sort of monster creature that's very disliked by his society, and is sort of on the run from people after that point. I don't care for it. I think that even with the plot that it has, this first volume managed to be boring. I think that's kind of a hot take, but it's just not my favorite thing. And after my partner reads it and decides whether he likes it or not, that's probably gonna go away. And then, grossly out of place, we have 20th Century Boys. Gonna be completely honest with you, that's my partner's, haven't read it. After that, we have After the Rain, recent purchase, haven't read it. And then we have A Man and His Cat, which is essentially old man finds ugly cat, hilarity ensues. It's very wholesome, it's very sweet and light, and very heartwarming. It's one of my favorite sort of do nothing series where, you know, it's not super actiony, but it just is a nice thing to read on like a rainy day when you don't, when you don't have a lot going on. Switching hands here, after that we have Azumanga Daioh, which I haven't read since I was a child and I only bought to have it sit in my collection with a place of pride once more. It is a gaggle of high school girls having hilarious adventures. It's by the same mangaka as Yatsuba, which you will see here shortly. It's really, again, really wholesome, really fun, really funny, and very episodic. So it's like a 4-panel manga. So every chapter is kind of its own thing by itself. After that, we have Bakemonogatari, belongs to my partner, haven't read it. And then Bestia, Volume 1, which is private investigating with a demon dog. Pretty fun, pretty cute. I'll probably pick up the second volume at some point. Not super in a hurry though for it. After that, we have Berserk, belongs to my partner, haven't read it. Plan to soon, haven't yet. After that, we have Blank Canvas, onto the bees. Blank Canvas, My Soul-Colored Artist Journey. Boy, my arms are already tired. By, oh my gosh, Akiko Higashimura. It is a autobiographical, I always get those two mixed up, manga about her journey as a mangaka, going to art school, learning her style and things like that. It's really, really cute, and I love Akiko Higashimura, so it is very nice to see sort of her process and her story. Then we have Beyond Metamorphosis, which is just young otaku befriends old otaku. And they enjoy, of course, BL or boys love manga together and go to conventions, and it's just very cute. Unlikely friendship, again, very wholesome. We're gonna move Darkness over here. This entire shelf is where my Nendoroids tend to live. Move Darkness and the Capitses. Next is Blue Flag, which is a dramatic LGBTQ+ romance story about sort of a love triangle of friends being in love with friends and not realizing it because teenagers are dumb. Super duper cute, very, like I said, dramatic, but still very funny. I highly recommend this one if you are looking for LGBT+ stories. After that, I feel like I'm breathing very heavily directly into the camera, so I apologize if that comes through. We have Blue Period, which is basically hyper practical young man discovers that he loves art, which is not a very hyper practical career choice. So it's him sort of coming to terms with that, changing his ways of thinking and learning about art and all of the things that go into it. Then we have Cardcaptor Sakura, 10-year-old magical girl fighting with tarot cards. That's all you need to know. It's a classic, very wholesome, very cute, and the art style is by Clamp, or the story and art is by Clamp, so you know the art style is going to be very stylized and the story is going to be very cute. Let's scooch Kirby over. Chainsaw Man, I hate it when people say this, but I feel like Chainsaw Man needs no introduction. I'll introduce it anyway. Basically, a young, very traumatized young man named Denji fuses with a demon to become a sort of demon hunter. It gives me sort of Psychopath vibes in a certain way, if you've ever watched that anime or read it. And it's super fun, super actiony. The art is very specific, very stylized. Oh, covers over here. Forgot how manga works. They're very pretty covers, and the art in general is really nice. Chibi Vampire is another one from my childhood that I'm starting to collect again. It's about Karin, who is basically a vampire that works backwards. She produces too much blood, and every so often it comes shooting out of her nose unless she deposits it, as it were. Super cute, super dumb. It's one of those manga that's not necessarily of great quality, but it's just fun and silly and cute, and I like it. Children of the Whales, recent purchase. Oh my gosh, recent purchase. Haven't read it. Then we have Citrus, volumes 1 through 10, which is all of it, about stepsisters potentially falling in love over the course of their newfound relationship. I understand that the step-sibling thing can be a sort of touchy subject for some people. I don't see a huge problem with it as long as they, didn't grow up together, which these two haven't. It doesn't make it that weird to me. I think it's a very cute series and one of my favorite Yuri. Get Aqua out of the way and switch hands, if we will. Crisis Girls, recent purchase, haven't read it. Then we have Days of Love at Seagull Villa, which is about a woman who discovers she's being cheated on and runs away to begin a new life in the country. only to start to develop feelings for her landlord, who has done some living herself. Another really cute Yuri, super precious, not super wholesome, but really cute. Alright, took a quick break for my shoulder's sake because I've been holding this camera up for a little bit, but we are back, baby. Let's get all my out of the way. Boop. Next we have Dead Man Wonderland, which is basically a young man in high school who is accused of a crime he did not commit and is then sentenced to this horrific prison/amusement park that has been set up in dystopian Tokyo. And then we have Destiny Lovers, which is kinky prison. That is the best way I can describe it. Just kinky prison all the time. It's absurd. It's absolute sexy absurdity, and it's one of my favorite manga that I own. It's so stupid, obviously very mature rated, but it's a good time. Next, oh, a little tight in there. Fix that later. Next is Dig Fight Island. It's exactly what it sounds like. On to Dorohedoro, Belongs to My Partner. Haven't read it yet. Keep meaning to because I know that there's a lot of hype around this series, but I haven't gotten to it just yet. After that is Doubt. It's Among Us. It is Among Us before Among Us was a thing. That same kind of mafia game where you have someone that is betraying you in this group of people that you are supposed to trust. Think Among Us meets Saw, like a Saw movie. Really fun, super dark, and just absolute twists and turns all over the place. It's awesome. After that, excuse me, Aizawa. After that is Dr. Stone, volumes 1 through 10. I have unfortunately only read volume 1, but so far I'm enjoying it. The entire world is miraculously turned to stone one day, and thousands and thousands of years later, this fella emerges and is just a complete super genius, and honestly, sort of a tool so far. Not a likable main character, but I kind of find it hilarious. He finds a way to free other people from the stone imprisonment that they've been suddenly encased in, and there are other sort of tribes that don't want him to do that, and it goes from there. And then we have Fooly Cooly, the manga omnibus. Honestly, not a huge fan. I think that if you want to get into Fooly Cooly, the the anime, which came first, is better. I find this a little pretentious, quite honestly. If you were forced to read Catcher in the Rye in high school, it's like a manga's equivalent. It's a lot. And I'm honestly, if my partner reads it and doesn't quite care for it, it's gonna go. And then we have Gantz, Belongs to My Partner, haven't read it. Then we have Gigant, giant porn star causes mayhem. That is honestly the best description I can think of off the cuff for Gigant. It's stupid, it's dumb, it's sci-fi, it doesn't take itself too terribly seriously. I like it okay. It's not my favorite manga, but it's fun if you want just like sexy stupid time, which I'm usually a pretty big fan of. Then we have Girls Last Tour, which is two young girls traversing the wasteland after some sort of apocalypse or war. We're not quite sure in this one volume. I keep meaning to pick up more volumes of this, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But overall, I really, really like it. After that, Hi Ring Light, let's block you out. After that, we have Glipnir, volumes 1. I have more volumes down on the other shelf. This is horrific in the best ways. A high school boy discovers he can turn into this sort of mascot thing, and is sort of resenting his lifestyle that way, until he meets this chick who helps him to sort of get revenge for this life that he's living, and also can climb inside of him like a giant Mickey Mouse costume at Disney World. It's a nightmare. It's funny, it's stupid, I love it. And down to the next shelf we have the rest of Glipnir, I believe up until its most recent volume. I think I've only read to volume 2 or 3. so I'm not quite caught up yet, but so far I'm really liking it. And then we have Goodbye My Rose Garden, which is my favorite Yuri I've ever read. It's my favorite romance I've ever read. It is high on the list of manga that I own. A Japanese woman who loves literature comes to England with the hopes of meeting her very favorite author, and at some point ends up working for Lady Alice, who is sort of a noble woman who eventually asks this Japanese maid, she becomes her maid, to kill her because of various very sad and slightly romantic reasons. It's only 3 volumes, so this is all of it. It's a beautiful short Yuri series, and I am absolutely in love with it. After that, we have Goodnight Poon Poon. Belongs to my partner. Haven't read it, and I'm in fact afraid to, because all I hear about this series is how miserable it is. I feel like I'm not in an emotionally well enough place to read Goodnight Poon Poon, and I don't know that I ever will be. But we have most of the series here. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this, other than that it's very, very sad and just kind of like a miserable time. I can't, recommend it because I haven't read it fully, but I know that many people say very good things about this series. After that, we have Gyo by Junji Ito. Haven't read it, quite honestly, because I read Uzumaki and got this only shortly after as a gift, and I am still trying to get over Uzumaki because it ruined me psychologically that badly. So looking forward to this nightmare, but haven't quite gotten there yet. After that, we have Heaven's Design Team Volumes 1 and 2. I'm not quite caught up on this series yet, but I do quite like it. It is about a team of angels who make the animals on Earth. There are all different characters, we can see on the back, who specialize in different things. And they all have like a magnum opus, which is the thing they're most proud of. And the characters are diverse and funny, and I really love the whole idea of them just designing the animals that go down onto Earth and getting them approved by God. There are also at the end of each chapter like actual real world facts about the animals that they create, which is pretty neat. It's a very Animal Planet meets otaku culture. It's a lot of fun, really dumb. Then we have, oh gosh, I always butcher this title because their names are a little difficult for me to pronounce. Harume and Mikuchi. It is just two, let's move this fella, two precious little tiny woodland critters, basically. They're like elves almost, or like little fae creatures, just living their life. It's a slice of life about these two precious babies living in a tree and being cute. Nothing happens in this series, and I love it for that. It's so chill. After that, we have I Am a Hero. Guess what, everybody? Belongs to my partner. Haven't read it, heard good things, but I'm kind of like over the whole zombie genre of stuff. So it's just kind of sitting here waiting for me to like not be done with zombies anymore so I can read it. Eventually I'll get to it and I'm sure I'll love it, but until then it just rots here. After that, we have Ibitsu, drowning in glare from my ring light. I apologize. Ibitsu is it's kind of like a Bloody Mary situation, and anyone into Japanese horror knows that the Japanese are amazing at those sort of urban legend type of things, and that is absolutely what Ibitsu is all about. A young girl in Lolita clothing carrying a parasol asks random passersby if they would have a little sister, and no matter what your answer, you are in for something gory and deadly and absolutely just no fun, but very fun for the readers. This is legitimately horrifying. It's like a B movie about like ghosts and stuff like that, the kind of the manga equivalent. It's I'm not explaining it well, but it's very fun and very scary. After that, we have I Hear the Sunspot, which I believe I have bought out of order. I've seen this volume and have read this volume and love it, and then I assumed that this was volume 1, even though there's no 1 on it. I think this is a one-shot, and then there's like volumes 1, 2, etc., etc. after it. So I'm kind of stuck on I Hear the Sunspot. I've read this and started reading this volume 2, and there were holes in it. So I think I missed something in between these, somewhere. But from what I have read, which is this one volume, it's very cute. It is a BL story about I believe they're in college age guy who is deaf, and he's kind of adjusting to that because unfortunately his hearing is continuing to get worse and worse. And he meets a guy who is very accepting of him, and he helps him take notes for classes and things like that, and their relationship just blossoms from there, and it's very cute. Then we have Ikigami, again, suffering from the glare. I apologize. And Ikigami is, if you are into sort of a dystopian society, corrupt government type of thing, a la Psycho-Pass kind of, you will really like Ikigami. How often is it? Every day, somebody in Japan is chosen to die. And you're chosen from the age of 6. You get I believe it's a vaccine, and it basically slowly puts something into your bloodstream that at a certain point in your life, you're just gonna die. And you get a letter 24 hours before that to say, it's your turn. And each chapter follows both the main character, he's not a detective, but he's a government officer tasked with giving people these cards that say, it's your turn next. How he feels about the whole situation and the people whose lives are affected by this, and how they live out their last 24 hours. It's really, really good so far. I have not read all of these volumes. I've only read the first 2, but so far I really enjoy it. And then Inuyashiki, haven't read it. This is what happens when you end up with a shared collection, because a lot of these are my partners and I haven't read them or haven't read them yet, and then the other way around. So fortunately, I haven't gotten around reading Inuyashiki yet, and I don't know that it's my steez, honestly. After that, we have Jujutsu Kaisen, which again is my partner's, but I've actually read a couple volumes of this and I've started the anime. We all, maybe not all of us, a lot of us know Jujutsu Kaisen and love it. A very athletic guy in high school accidentally stumbles upon this sort of occult demon situation. It's incredibly difficult to explain off the cuff, if I'm being quite honest. This guy basically is fused with a whole demon, as you can see from here, and he's sort of fighting that demon internally while he and this other group of sort of demon hunting people try and fight it out in the world. It's a lot of fun, very action-packed, super hype, a lot of fun if you're into shonen series like this. Highly recommend. On to the next shelf, we've got the rest of Jujutsu Kaisen, and then we have Kaiju Girl. I always want to pronounce it Caramelise. I think it's Caramelize. Kaiju Girl is about a heckin' adorable, look at that art style. I get cute aggression just from looking at these covers. She's so cute. An adorable girl with a horrific condition where whenever she gets flustered or overwhelmed or what have you, she starts to turn into a kaiju or a giant monster like Godzilla style. So she is navigating the world with this condition, trying to talk to and develop a relationship with her crush, which, as you can imagine, is very difficult whenever you get flustered, you start to sprout horns and a tail. It's kind of like I keep messing them up here, a seinen written like a shoujo, or a series with not adult themes, but hard action and things like that, written like it's meant for 14-year-old girls. It's very cute, and again, the art style is beautiful, and I'm a big fan of this one. After that, we have Kashimashi. Kashimashi Girl Meets Girl is a young kid in high school who is abducted by aliens and is swapped. It's a gender swap story, basically. So they are learning to navigate their life as a girl, with their crushes and things like that, and it's silly, it's inclusive, it's really cute. I feel like Kashimashi is highly underrated, and I'm a big fan of this series. This is all of it, so it's not particularly long, and it's probably kind of hard to find right now just because it's older. I got these both used, and I'm very happy to have stumbled upon them. This is so cute. After that, we have Komi Can't Communicate, which is about a, again, high school age girl named Komi, who is regarded as like this goddess by her classmates because she's beautiful and she's stoic and reserved, but really she essentially is autistic. She has a communication disorder where it is nay impossible for her to speak to her peers, and she develops this goal of making 100 friends by the end of her time in high school, and it's just very sweet, very relatable, because I myself am autistic, so much of what Komi does is just like me. Really love this series. It's very cute, very chill, like it's like a slice of life type of situation, so you're not going to get a lot of action, but it's wonderful to just read while you're chilling on the couch. I love this series a lot. As I said that, I got them all out of where they're supposed to be. Anyway, on to Kuma 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 Bear, which is, oh, I knocked over Nora. Sorry, homegirl. Any Ruby fans know that Nora's already gone through it, so to knock her over feels like a big insult. This is Yuna. She is the main character of Kuma 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 Bear. Kuma in Japanese is just bear, so the title of this manga is just Bear 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 Bear, which I'm a big fan of. This is an isekai. Yuna here is sucked into her favorite World of Warcraft-esque video game, where she is stuck with this ridiculous looking but very overpowered bear gear. Everything's bears. The power-ups are shaped like bears. Her familiars are bears. It's all bears. It's really stupid, and I love it. Super duper one of my favorite isekais. Then we have Laid Back Camp, which, as the title would suggest, is incredibly chill. It's just cute girls doing cute things. Camping edition. A kind of shy camping enthusiast is adopted by an extrovert, and they go camping together, and they're just building a friendship and going camping, and it's precious. Another manga that I really enjoy where nothing happens. I love manga where nothing happens because it's so easy to read them and just kind of shut your brain off and enjoy the story. You don't have to, it's not thinky. You don't have to think too hard when you're reading Laid Back Camp, and I appreciate that about it. That being said, it's still very well written with very cute characters, and I would recommend that. Also, we have Love Hina, Excuse Me Punkaboo. Just gonna scooch over the superior Pokemon. Then we have Love Hina, which is kind of, I don't know that it's the first one ever, but it's kind of regarded as like the OG harem series. A young dude in a cram school kind of accidentally is bequeathed this women's boarding home with all of these girls who don't particularly care for him, don't particularly want a man owning their boarding home, and they just are very sour to him. But slowly they all kind of realize that, oh, this guy might be okay, and maybe some feelings start to happen. I won't spoil it for anybody, but it's a harem series. Kind of in that line between wholesome and not. A lot of suggestive stuff, but nothing like overtly ecchi or adult in its themes. You may notice I'm tragically missing volume 9, because when I picked these up at 2 different used bookstores, I was an idiot and I did not keep in mind which volumes I had and didn't, so there's just this gap that I may or may not ever fill, because these single volumes are very hard to find. F in the chat for me. After that, we have the switching of hands, because my hands are tired from doing this. We have Love Me For Who I Am. This is about a non-binary student who is finding a community of other people who don't super conform to typical gender roles and norms. It's really heartwarming, very much about finding oneself, finding out where you vibe on the gender spectrum or outside of it entirely. Really, really cute. Really, really informative and well addressing of the issues of learning, acquiring new pronouns. I really like this series. I find it very inclusive, of course. After that, we have Made in Abyss. These children in an orphanage live in a city where in the middle of it is this giant hole into the earth. And it is people's jobs to explore that hole, the abyss, as it were, find what's in it, learn about it, and this little kid right here, Rico, wants to be a sort of cave explorer like her mother was. She dives into the abyss looking for her mother, and adventures ensue from there. Kind of heart-wrenching. Lots of very sad, very dark themes in this series, punctuated by art, by art that is just gorgeous. Nanachi is everything to me. I like this series quite a lot, but I feel like I don't hype it up as much as most people do. I think it's pretty good, but I don't agree that it's like the masterpiece a lot of people think it is. Hot take, potentially. Please don't come for. All right, we are on to the last couple of shelves here. This is kind of a not super aesthetic looking portion of my collection because it's like a lot of volume 1s and like loosey-goosey stuff, but we'll go over it anyway. We've got the rest of Made in Abyss here. Magi, belongs to my partner. Haven't read it. We have March Story, which is actually I'm going to mispronounce this and I apologize, a manhwa, or a Korean, I believe, manga, maybe? Don't come for me, didn't do my research for this. About basically this kid just hunts demons. Demons are attached to precious, precious artifacts or things that were very meaningful to people. And new people come and pick up these, it could be jewelry, it could be a painting or what have you. They pick up this thing, and the demon in that thing possesses this new owner, and it's this kiddo's job to basically exorcise them. Really interesting. I'm a big fan of the mechanic that they're attached to things. I don't have a lot of profound thoughts on March Story other than I like it. I think it's really fun and I dig the art. Once I find volume 2 anywhere, I'll probably continue buying it. After that, we have, let me scooch these, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. This is, I've seen the full anime of this series and just started collecting the manga for funsies. This is, so a salary lady, Miss Kobayashi, happens upon Toru, who is a dragon, and in exchange for help, Miss Kobayashi drunkenly says, I'll help you because you're injured or whatever, but you need to be my maid. Cut to this whole situation. A very colorful, wacky cast of characters. It is slightly ecchi, it's very funny and just bizarre all around. I was a huge fan of this anime and look forward to getting further into the manga. After that, we have Miss Koizumi Loves Ramen Noodles, which is basically exactly what the title makes it sound like. This gal just is a connoisseur of fine ramen noodle shops. And there is a classmate that just wants to be friends with her. She just idolizes her, thinks she's beautiful, thinks she's smart, wants to be friends with her so bad. So she wiggles her way into Miss Koizumi's life by pretending that she also is a connoisseur of fine ramen noodles. Hilarity ensues from there. Very slice of lifey, very cute. It kind of reminds me, not in its theming, but just its sort of general chill vibe with this very stoic main character of Komi Can't Communicate that we talked about a few moments ago. Just something very calm about it, but it's also very funny. It's pretty cute. I will get other volumes eventually, but I'm not like in a rush. But otherwise, I like it pretty good. I like the art style. After that, we have, oh boy, we have Monster Musume, I Love Monster Girls. And this is sort of the companion series to the main manga Monster Musume, which I haven't read, but I've watched the anime, and I Monster Girls, man, they're S tier. This is sort of like a companion series, just sort of off the cuff, one-off, cute little stories about these monster girls that are being housed through this, like, integration program with this guy, sort of against his will, and they all just are very smitten with him. It's very ecchi, very funny. It's so dumb. I love it. After that, we have My Dress Up Darling. Volume 4 is floating around somewhere, but I'm in the middle of reading it, so of course it's not here. This is adorable. The more I read of this series, the more I really, really, really like it. A guy who is into, I've forgotten the names of them, but those sort of traditional, very beautifully painted Japanese dolls, where the faces are hand-painted and everything, has a chance meeting with his school's like most popular girl, who he learns is a total cosplay nerd. And they become this sort of team of him learning to make clothes for her, because he's only made clothes for dolls before. And her just being able to live her dream of being these characters she wants to be. She's a big nerd. He's just so wholesome and dumb and clueless. This series is quite ecchi. There's lots of like panty shots and spicy things like that. So while this is cute and has wholesome moments, it's not for kids. Not for kids. Ask your parents. Then we have Our Dreams at Dusk, which I am slowly falling in love with. This is a beautiful, I just reviewed this on my Instagram if you want to hear more of my thoughts about it, a beautiful essay on the LGBTQ plus experience. This young boy is recently outed as gay and is being bullied by his classmates, and as he's considering doing the unthinkable, he's on the edge of a bridge just thinking about going off of it. He has a chance meeting with this very mysterious woman named Someone-san, who runs like a community center for other LGBTQ plus people. And it's such a good commentary, I'm not even sure if that's the right word, about finding your community as a queer person, and just learning that who you are is okay, navigating what it's like to be a young person recently out on the LGBT spectrum. Beautifully done, written by a how do they refer to themselves? Ex-gendered mangaka, who has done other pieces sort of similar to this, sort of almost essays on what it's like. Big fan of this. I feel like I can't eloquently talk about it because there's so much I love about it that I get all flustered, but very, very good, very beautiful art. I'm in love. It's quite short as well, I believe. I think there's only 4 volumes in total, so not a long read if you're not wanting to delve into something super lengthy. After that, we have Parasite. Belongs to my partner. Haven't read it, refuse to read it ever, because body horror, man, is just one of those things that I can't. That's just gonna be my partner's, and that's his little manga that he has there, and I'm not gonna touch it ever. Planetes? Never sure how to pronounce that. Belongs to my partner, haven't read it, plan to one day. Then we have Pleasure and Corruption. I could go on forever about this manga. I feel like it's very underrated. It's also maybe a little taboo just because the characters are high school aged. I feel like in manga though, it's typical. I don't know where I side on that whole debate about the ages of characters and things like that. I honestly don't know where I stand on it, but I know that I love this series. If you have ever read Flowers of Evil, this is pretty similar in its sort of concept. A high school guy who's like he's a total scrub, dude. He sucks. He is caught taking upskirt pictures by the class president. The class president, as it would seem, is a dominatrix, basically. She's what the series calls a bondage master, or a person that ties other people up for funsies. And she blackmails him and pulls him into that life, and oh boy does she. This is actually written by someone who is in the sort of unvanilla lifestyle themselves, and they have cute little sort of mini comics at the back about their experience in that world. It's so taboo, it is ecchi, it's a lot. I've read a lot of like grown-up manga in my day, and this is one of the only ones that has me like blushing. I love it. I cannot wait for volume 4 to come out. It's so like my guilty pleasure. So good. Pluto, guess what? Belongs to my partner, haven't read it. We share a collection. After that is Princess Jellyfish, by, oh my goodness, I've forgotten her name. She wrote Blank Canvas that we talked about earlier. Oh, look, it's right there, like it is on a book, you idiot, Jess. Akiko Higashimura. This is, I feel like I've said this a lot, but it's one of my favorite manga. It's a very extrovert adopts an introvert, shenanigans ensue type of thing. It has a wonderful underlying theme that like everybody's a geek about something. Maybe it is something that is considered traditionally geeky, like there's one character that she's just freaking, she loves trains, dude. Our main character, Kimi, is just a total jellyfish otaku. She's a big jellyfish nerd. And then maybe you're a geek about fashion. Maybe you're really interested in fashion and modeling and things like that. Everyone's a geek about something. And I feel like we could all get a little kumbaya here. We could all get along better if we all realize that. Anyway, this is about, unlikely friendships, beautiful art, as Akiko Higashimura is known for. It's pretty. It's pretty art. I'm a big fan. I'm not explaining it well because I'm so overwhelmed by how much I like it that I'm flustered, but I do have a review of this on my Instagram, Uwu_Revieuwu, where I'm not talking like an idiot the entire time. So if you want to check that out, please feel free, because I'm acting like an idiot right now. We're going to set that to the side so I'm not fumbling to put it back in there. We then have Prison School, which, if I didn't use the description kinky jail for Destiny lovers earlier, I would use it for Prison School. This thing is dumb. It's dumb in all the best ways. It's another kind of thing of that sexy absurdity that I like. So this all-girls school is against all kinds of pushback from faculty and other students, is becoming co-ed. There are 5 boys in the school of like 2,000 girls or something stupid like that. And they don't want them there. So they are thrown into this sort of weird, suggestive prison situation to get them out of the general population of the school. And they're trying to figure out how the hell to get out. This is so good. It's so bad, but it's so good. Again, not for kiddos. Very much ask your parents type of situation. But it's well written. It's ridiculous, and it knows that about itself, which I really appreciate. And this sat unread on my shelf for a really long time, and I'm like mad at myself about that. I just finally read it. It's been on the shelf unread for like months, just rotting, and now I feel like a monster because it's one of my favorites right this moment. Recently bought volume 2 and am voraciously consuming it. It's Prison School. If you're in for something spicy, it's pretty spicy. Let me move Emma here, and then we have The Promised Neverland, which was recently dethroned as my favorite manga of all time. We'll get to what dethroned it later, but it's currently my second favorite manga of all time, and I just love it. It's the series that got me back into manga, so high praise. So these are orphans living in what seems to be a typical orphanage with a loving caretaker that they just call mom, until they find out that something very, very nefarious is happening. It is dark. It's incredibly dark. It's incredibly creative. It is one of the most gorgeous manga that I own. I love the whole story. If you are someone who watched the anime and got to that infamous second season, was like, this is trash, I implore you to read the manga. There is so much that is not covered in the anime. I know that the joke is like, season 2 is trash of The Promised Neverland, and it is, but genuinely, the manga fills so many awful gaps that the anime creates. And I'm so mad, just like everyone else, that it turned out the way that it did. You root for these kids, you want them to get to safety, and it is so effective when it feels like they're not. You know, you don't get the impression that, oh, it has to work out in the end because it's a manga and that's what happens and there's so much left. Like, you don't think about that because you're so immersed. Like, oh my god, how are they going to get out of this one? It's horrifying. Goldie Pond arc is my favorite arc. My favorite arc in manga. Just, it's so good. Over here we've got the rest of Promised Neverland. It's up to volume 19, and the 20th volume is coming out in English in like a couple days as I'm filming this, and then it'll be over, and I won't know what to do with my life, and I'll be very sad. After that, we have Saint Young Men. I love this very stupid series. Saint Young Men is a buddy comedy with Jesus and Buddha. They come down to Earth for a vacation to visit Japan, and it's just their shenanigans. It's so cute and it's so wholesome. And as someone who I happen to grow up fairly religious, all the there's religious in-jokes. So you can still enjoy this series without having that sort of religious background. But if you do have it, it's like Easter eggs. It's so funny. It mentions like various stories from, of course, biblical and sort of Buddhist stories and things like that, and integrates them into like how it would affect their lives in modern day Japan so well. It's a little artsy. You expect it to be kind of like an unlikely friendship buddy comedy, which it kind of is, but it's also a little avant-garde about it. So if that's not your style, you might want to skip this, but otherwise, I totally recommend these gorgeous volumes that these come in. It's fun and stupid and a little artsy. I'll put it up there. Then we have Saki the Succubus Hungers Tonight, which sure is a thing that exists. Essentially, this lovely young lady is Saki. She's a succubus. She's not particularly good at it. Succubi are creatures that thrive off of the lust of men, but she's a traditional gal. She wants to wait until she's in love to harvest the seed of a man. And it's just about her and this gentleman named Renta, who they share an apartment and a life with, basically, by some wacky circumstances. And it's just another thing of dumb, sexy fun. It's also really cute when it's not being absolutely gross. This is a graphic series. Ask your parents. They're gonna say no. Ask your parents. When it's not being PORN, it's really cute. Look at that art. She's adorable. Super funny as well. This is all of it, so again, pretty short, so you're not sinking your teeth into anything particularly. It's not deep by any stretch of the imagination. But it's also pretty short, pretty skinny volumes as well. So it's a nice little. You could knock these out in like an afternoon, I feel, and be satisfied. Then we have Soul Liquid Chambers. Got this like 3 days ago. Have not read it yet. Really like this cover art. We then have Tokyo. I'm gonna mess this up. Tarareba Girls, again by Kiko Higashimura. This is about regrets, turning 30 or being in your 30s, 33 specifically, having regrets, living day to day as an adult. It is, I say it's got adult themes, and I don't mean that in like an inappropriate way. Just, it very expertly addresses, what it's like to go through life realizing that, oh my god, I'm a grown-up now. Suddenly, you wake up in your 30-something. It sounds really bleak, but it's honestly super funny and a really good commentary on the experience of going through life, doing the adulting thing. Super cute, super, I don't want to say girly, but definitely like all of Higashimura's stuff has that sort of feminine air to it. We then have Uzumaki, which I mentioned. My cats are falling over. Uzumaki, which I mentioned earlier, messed me up when I read it. This is, of course, by Junji Ito, who, if you don't know, is like the granddaddy of Japanese horror, or manga, or horror and manga, rather. Uzumaki is about a town that is plagued by spirals. Absolutely taken over by them. They're everywhere, they affect everything, they affect everyone, and it's about a young couple who seems to be the only people that know what's going on. Everyone else is going crazy. It's very scary. Lots of horrific imagery. It's like Junji Ito learned about the Fibonacci sequence, decided to ruin it for everybody else. Because in real life, spirals are everywhere, like in nature. So you see them out and about after reading this, and you're like, oh, it's another one. It's another spiral. Super effectively horrific. I love Uzumaki a lot. Then we have Vagabond, belongs to my partner, haven't read it. Then we have Vinland Saga, belongs to my partner, have read it, or at least the first 2 volumes, and really quite like it. It's definitely a classic for a reason. It is about a young boy who is essentially abducted by Vikings after the death of his father. That's not a spoiler. That is like the whole setup. It's on the back of the first volume, so fear not for spoilers. He's trying to avenge his father while being forced to travel with the very Vikings that took him from him. It is shonen all the way. There are battle sequences. There's the whole like power of familial love and nonsense like that comes with shonen series. But this is gorgeous. The fights are beautifully choreographed, I guess you would say. The art is gorgeous. The characters are really, really interesting. And I feel like it's not often you see manga set in this sort of like Scandinavian setting. So I think it's really neat. The only thing I don't like about it, as far as presentation, I know a lot of people love these hardcovers and I think they're fine, but I don't know what it is about them. They just feel like cheap to me, but that's just a me thing. After that, we have the thing that dethroned Promised Neverland as my favorite manga of all time, and that is Witch Hat Atelier. Atelier? Atelier. I don't know. Witch Hat. It's Witch Hat. You've seen this beautiful art at your local Barnes & Noble. We've all seen it. Essentially, a young girl is, through various tragic circumstances, yeeted into the world of witches and how they do what they do and what it means to be a witch. And she kind of gets lost in all of this like conspiracy surrounding the witch community. It's stunning. This manga is stunning. Beautiful art, beautiful, unique story. And also the magic system, how magic does what it does and why in this world is incredibly creative. Certainly something I've never seen before. This whole series is just so special, and I really, really love it. Of course, it is now my favorite manga of all time, and like, he's daddy, am I right? I feel like I'm right. Alright, and then the last manga I have on my shelf, kind of awkwardly over here by itself because I ran out of room, is Yotsuba, again by the same creators of, oh my god, of Azumanga that we talked about earlier. It is about a little girl going on adventures in the big wide world, and just wholesome, so pure. It's adorable and funny, and I love it. And then after that, we have Yuri Is My Job, volumes 1 and 2. I'm a little on the fence about this series, if I'm honest with you. It is about a gal who ends up kind of indebted to this maid cafe, where the maids all pretend that they're in like a girls' school, and they like are acting out this almost soap opera-esque thing for the customers. And these two maybe get a little feelsy, get a little into each other, maybe not. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I just don't know that I love the presentation of it. I think I like it. I'm gonna give it one more volume and then we'll see. And that is the whole collection. Oh my god, we're finally done. That was more tiring than I anticipated it being, but that's it. That's my whole manga collection. Thank you all for coming with me and watching as I tirelessly got this monstrosity set up. If you want to see more full, certainly better, like thought through sounding reviews of anything that I have talked about here today briefly, so many of these manga behind me are reviewed on my Instagram, which is where Uwu Revieuwu got its start. You can find that at Uwu_Revieuwu, and there are all kinds of reviews of all of this nonsense you see here behind me. So if you're interested in that, please pop over there and give me a follow. Other than that, I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I hope you've enjoyed coming on this little journey with me, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.